Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff Mosher and Adam Caplan. It's our normal season Friday game preview podcast. Yep. Eagles coming up with a big Sunday night showdown against the San Francisco 49ers. I tell you, Adam, you've heard me say this. I'm a big believer in the law of averages. I'm a believer in the ebb and flow of a season. And I always say, that you're never as bad as you think you are when you're losing, and you're never as good as you think you are when you're winning. Those are all platitudes. I get it. But this week, I had real difficulty in giving the Eagles some kind of benefit of the doubt or optimism when I know that Doug Peterson had a practice with one wide receiver.
Well, no, he practiced with
one
on his 53. Yes, on
right.
Thursday. That was
right.
That was insane. Look, we'll get into the matchups. We're going to do the injuries in a couple minutes. I mean, I have some thoughts and some intel, but I don't know how you hold a practice with Deontay Burnett and Travis Fulgham. And, oh, by the way, they'll probably be called up on Saturday. They have till 4 p.m. Eastern to call these guys up or sign them on. They have two. They could use two different transactions. One, they could use their call-ups, or B, they could actually sign them off there. But when you do that, then you have to cut somebody to make room. So it's a nightmare. And the thing is, this is my theme of the week. Nausea a must win, Geoff. If they lose, where do you go from here?
I don't know. We tried to get into the mindset of Joe Banner, the former Eagles president, and we did a really good interview this week with him on our YouTube channel, Inside the Birds TV, and of course, it's also podcasted. And even he, we talked with him about the 2003 team that started off 0-2, and then they were 2-2, and then they were 2-3, and it just after 2 and 5 weeks, the season seemed totally lost, especially compared to the expectations. And he talked about how Andy Reid was able to hold it together and the great coaching staff that they had. But even he acknowledged that not every situation is apples to apples, and this is a different type of staff. It doesn't have as many veteran guys as that one does. I don't know if all of these assistants.
New coaches.
A lot of new coaches. And a lot of injuries that team didn't have to deal with. So Joe even sounded even a little skeptical of himself of A, how they can respond from this, and B, what would happen if there was a loss. So I encourage everybody to check out that.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
But yeah,
it was a lot of Geoff and I, when we talked to Joe, was it the good thing for people who are on their way to work. If you're trying to catch it today, it's a very short interview. We wanted to get to the current issues. It's about a 25-minute or so spot with Joe, and he gives a big picture. And the great thing is, he took us inside his conversation with Jeffrey Lurie when Joe and Geoff worked together, particularly some of the tough times and how those conversations went. And I learned so much from a macro standpoint, Geoff, on how do you manage situations from if you own a business, and how to look at yourself and be honest with yourself. It was really fascinating where we took this interview, and it was a little bit different than the one that we did back in May.
Right. I think what I was fascinated by what he said is that when they were at their worst in September, one of the things they tried to do was take a step back and look at their entire operations objectively. What is it that they were doing wrong, or what is it that was going wrong but wasn't likely to continue down that path? It was just either bad luck or coincidence or a string of this that was unexpected. And you have to be able to do that. You can't react to everything that's going wrong. For example, let's talk about Carson Wentz real quick, right? Mm-hmm. I still maintain that while he has issues and flaws that we've talked about, it's not rational to expect that he is going to play 12, 13, 14 games like the first three, where he's going to have 2 interceptions every game. He's going to have a 60-something passer rating. To me, it's more logical that he will play better soon. The question is it going to be too late when he does, or is it good enough to overcome other areas where you can objectively look at and say maybe we didn't plan very well, like not having a veteran linebacker or offensive lineman, or what we did in the draft where the objectivity allows you to self-scout and wonder if your process was correct.
Right, and that's what Joe was talking about. But let's get started. When you talk about Wentz, before we move on to other stuff,
Mhm.
The problem now is they're so injury depleted. I have no idea who they're going to have available as we talk Friday morning here and we get ready for Friday's practice. So today's practice is going to be big. We'll learn more about that. And we're going to have for our show Sunday, remember our pregame show, 5 to 7 Eastern, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern, from
Goose Island Brew
Goose
House.
Island Brewery, right? In right off Columbus
Fishtown.
Boulevard.
Yep.
Obviously, if you're watching us even overseas, you could see it live. We know a lot of people overseas are watching us. We really appreciate it. Don't miss it. It was phenomenal last week with Gosell and Trey Thomas, and it doesn't get any better than that. The stuff we're putting out there, like it's well ahead of its time, and we love it. So we're going to have a lot of information on matchups and so forth in this show and on that show. So we look forward to talking to everyone on Sunday too. But Geoff, this show today, man, we got a lot to get to. A lot of injuries that I was not expecting to have to deal with.
Yeah, we will bring out the scalpel and the forceps. And if I can mention really quick, though, the other two shows that we have on the Inside the Birds umbrella, Grilling the Birds with Trey Thomas and Derek Gunn came out this week. I thought it was really fantastic stuff. They had some videos in there, too, some clips that'll show you some matchup issues that the Eagles had. So make sure you check that out. And, of course, Tales from the Blind Side with Trey, Jamal Jackson, and Todd Hermans is just as unbelievable. Great stories from their playing days and how they relate them to what's going on now. And if you really if you want good football talk and a real laugh, that's the show to go to because those guys will crack you
Storytelling.
up. Hysterical.
Yeah, storytelling.
Who knew? Who knew offensive linemen, the quietest guys in the locker room,
right.
could tell stories like that, right?
It's funny.
So,
yeah, it's I'm so glad to have D Gunn and Trey and Todd and Jamal Jackson for 67 under our umbrella here as we expand, and we're probably going to be making some announcements on the next couple months, I would think, of more people have contacted us. We kind of taken this thing way farther than we ever could have dreamed of in terms of content and our reach, and we appreciate all the compliments, and we're doing it for you guys out there. You tell us what you want, and we listen, and we kind of craft our shows around what people want because we know they want inside information. They want to learn about their team. And they're going to learn about it with Derek Gunn, with Trey, with Cosell, with you and I, with Todd and Jamal when they do that show. Yeah, there's a lot of yakking, a lot of laughing, but they're going to be passionate about what they think the thing should look like, particularly with the offensive line.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, their stuff on the offensive line, you're right, was great. Speaking of learning something, let's figure out what we've learned about the injury situation facing both the Eagles and the 49ers going into this game. These are two of the most banged up teams that you're going to see in the NFL. I mean, I know the Broncos are pretty banged up too, and there are some other teams that are vying for the title here. By the time Sunday night's game's over, we might have to crown a champion. Last man standing.
Yeah, so 18 players on both teams are on reserve lists, either injured reserve or reserve PUP or reserve NFI. It's really unbelievable. I mean, as you said, they just happen to be playing each other this week. So let's start with the Niners. Dee Ford's not going to play with his back injury. Right. He's been hurt a lot since they got him. He's their third inning. He's out. You know that Nick Bosa tore his ACL. He's on injured reserve. He's out for the season. Solomon Thomas, starting tackles, out for the season. Kittle's playing this week, barring a setback. He's back in the lineup. That's killer with how bad the Eagles have been against the tight end. Jerick McKinnon will play with his bruised ribs. Mostert won't play with his MCL sprain. Jordan Reeder looked really good so far. Grade 3 MCL sprain. He's down for 2 months. Bad injury. That's what Evan Mathis had. I remember Evan telling me. Incredible amount of pain he played in when he came back.
Yeah.
The other one that's troubling for them is Emmanuel Mosley in a starting outside corner. He's not been cleared yet with his concussion. I know the Eagles are down to Mike Quick at receiver now, but I mean, it's bad.
They wish they had Mike Quick.
Let me tell you something. I'm old enough to remember when Mike could run really, really well before his knees went.
Yeah.
He was super fast running after the catch. No, Dre Greenlaw's not playing. They're starting outside linebacker. Garoppolo's not going to start almost certainly. He hasn't practiced since he got hurt. So it's going to be Nick Mullins, when we'll get into the matchup. So, look, that's their injury situation. And then the Eagles, okay. Arcega-Whiteside, he got hurt in pregame last week. That's what happened. It was a calf injury.
And yet he played. I don't understand. What's the point of throwing him out there if he's got a calf injury and he can't be effective?
Great question. He was active the problem is He was active after the inactives came out, so you can't have him inactive. You're right, Jeff. Being prudent, they probably should have not let him play, particularly because of their injury situation at receiver. Some of it they didn't know would happen with D-Jax. We'll get to him. The ones that are concerning for Sunday are these. Oh, Rudy Ford, by the way, it's just to miss like 3 or 4 weeks. Not that he doesn't play on defense, but he did light work on Thursday. Maybe he's got an outside chance to play. This is surprising to me. That
good news for special teams.
Yeah, exactly. He's their fastest special teams player. D-Jax, I'm told, grade 1 hamstring strain. I'm putting in the doubtful category. I doubt that he plays. However, he knows this. He knows hamstring injuries. He's had them throughout his career. It would be great for the Eagles, coaches particularly, and Carson Wentz, if he could fight through it. He knows how to manage it. The guy's 33 years old. I'm not ruling him out yet. We'll see how they list him on Friday. If he could just go out there and test it. I'm not. No one's telling me he's going to, but they're in such dire straits. They got to win this game. He's just got to try. I'm not him. I know he's got a hamstring strain. You worry about these with him because this has been the story of his career with these hamstrings. So here's the bad one. He must have had a setback. I don't know for a fact, but it's not good. Alshon did not practice on Thursday. Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah, I saw that.
That is not good because I was told he looked really good and he had no issues last week. The fact that he didn't practice Thursday is a very bad sign for this week. I can't imagine.
I was wondering if it was maintenance. I was wondering.
Good question. Yeah. I don't know, but they can't afford him not practicing. Jeff, he can't be taking any days off.
True.
Because he's in practice. He's been out for 9.5 months.
Let me ask you this question. I'm gonna box you into a corner right here.
Do it.
Based on what you just said about Deshaun. If you knew Deshaun was going to catch the game-winning touchdown, but tweak that hammy and be out the next 3 or 4 weeks, do you play him anyway?
Why do you do this to me? Why do you?
Because I can, Adam. That's why. And
you will, right?
I will.
You know what?
You got to get the W, man. I think you do it.
And it's so funny you phrase it like that because this is what coaches do. I'm not saying Doug Peterson does this, but I know their head coaches I have been friendly with over the years. They don't care. They're so desperate to win, they would do it. Now, Here's the thing. It's a Deshaun decision along with the medical staff. The coaches have nothing to do with it. It's how do you feel, Deshaun? Can you push through it or can't you?
Right.
He's got a hamstring strain. You got to be careful. You don't want to make the strain worse. But he knows his body. We'll see. I doubt it. That's why he's not expected to play as far as I know on the information I have from a couple sources. But never know. I'll leave the door open until they list us out. He ain't out.
All right. Anyone else there? You mentioned
Hightower,
yeah. Right?
Oh, yeah. Okay. They made it very clear that Jason Peters is playing, but it's not. He wasn't fit. Okay. What did Peterson say? He was fatigued. What did he say?
He did. He said he was fatigued.
Oy vey. Why would he say that?
Because he's tired of everybody's what, and he's calling them out.
I think. Jeff, you're honest. This is just me guessing. I think you're honest something.
Because
I was surprised he said that. Well, anyway, he's listed as an illness. Miles Sanders, he came out very sore from the game. You saw that hit. He was listed with a glute injury, but there was a play you could really see it even in the TV copy. He took a hard fall on the grass, and that's when Boston Scott came in late in the game. I'm like, why is Boston Scott in when they need Miles in there at this point in the game? That's why he was sore. John Hightower, he has an illness. I don't know what it is. He didn't work. He was added Thursday. Here's the bad one. Out of the blue. Jeff, and out of the blue, Trevor Williams, who was supposed to start on the outside, oops, he's got a rib injury. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. So if he doesn't practice Friday, it's highly unlikely he'll play. Players who do not practice through the week, who don't practice, rarely play on Sunday. So I don't. We'll have more news on what they're going to do at corner. I have a pretty good idea, but I don't know exactly yet. Well, then again, they don't really have much of a choice here.
Yeah, what are their options?
Well, here are their options.
Uh-huh.
Playing Cravon LeBlanc on the outside. They don't want to do that. He's smaller. He's much better inside. Because if you do that, you have Roby Coleman as your nickel, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
You can move Jalen Mills back to corner. Then
You do that.
Yeah, have Marcus Epps play safety. So, you can do that. You can sign a corner off your practice squad.
Wait, they have another one?
Oh, okay. Oh. Michael Jaquette, they just brought him back.
Oh, no, that's not an option. Come on. I meant real options.
They need bodies. Mosher, they need bodies.
Yeah, if they're going to play Michael Jaquette, no offense to him, they might as well put you out there. I mean, what's he been with the team for a week? After I know
he was
there
down
for training camp.
18 pounds. I think I could break a 5 in the 40. I think I could run a 4.99. I'm down
that's pretty good.
218. Yeah, so I think I could do it. Anyway.
I mean, that's basically Rasul Douglas's time. But,
that ain't right, man.
Nah, he's actually playing obviously very well in a cover 2. Do you know how many times last year I said these guys were good would be good cover 2 corners and they were in the wrong scheme? Not that not that I think by the end of the year Rasul Douglas is going to be a Pro Bowler, but I'm just saying.
So funny, and I don't blame the coach. It just he was in the wrong scheme here.
Yeah,
but God,
that's an issue.
I'm sorry.
That becomes an issue if you're drafting players for the wrong scheme.
Yeah, I know, but they need bodies. Eagles need bodies in the worst way. I don't have a feel for what they're going to do at corner yet. If Williams doesn't practice today, he ain't playing. Mm-hmm. So. I don't know what the hell they're going to do. Michael Jaquette, I know nothing about Elijah Riley.
Mm.
For the life of me, Jeff.
Yes.
Why have they not signed a veteran outside corner?
Why don't you put that on the list of why have they not signed a veteran linebacker? Why did it take a week to sign a veteran offensive lineman? I don't know. I really, we've talked about this. I have no idea. Maybe, you brought it up. All right. And I think you were just going through all the options, right? Maybe in the back of their minds, they always felt that they did have Jalen Mills in their back pocket as somebody who could move to corner if they were forced into that position. So we'll have to see what they do.
To me, that would that's the one. If I had to bet or guess, that would be it. But we'll have it. We'll get it. It won't be a problem. But the issue is this now: if you're the coaches with all of these injuries in a must-win. There's no, and I never say this early. They have to win this game, Jeff. They're not beating Baltimore or Pittsburgh with this beat up roster. It's not happening. They could play this game on the beach. They're not winning those games. They got to win this game.
They do. They really have to win this game. I agree. And it's not that I'll ever dismiss the idea of beating Pittsburgh or Baltimore, but certainly you have to play better. And so if you can beat the 49ers, then people and do it and execute, people will give you more the benefit of the doubt that you can carry that over. But even in the broader context of that, Adam, you lose this game and you're 0-3-1 through a quarter of the season, your margin of error is so small, right? I mean, you got a lot of tough, even beyond this 3 games, right? You've got New Orleans on the schedule. You got Green Bay on the schedule. I think you have Seattle again on the schedule. I mean, you can't afford slip-ups. And then you can't even have a bad day against the Giants one day.
And by the way, the Cowboys, their offense is no joke. Really, really good. This Eagles secondary, not very good. So other than Slay has played very solid football. I just and we've done the injuries here, so we might as well get into the matchups because I got so much running through my head here.
Let's do it.
I don't know how the hell they're going to pull this off, but you never know.
All right, you want to do the Eagles offense versus the Niners D first, or do you want to do it in reverse?
Yeah. Let's Eagles O. So this is the problem because we don't know who's going to line up a receiver. So this is the Friday morning look at the Eagles receiver core. Right now, we know Greg Ward, who's played outside lately. He scored on the outside last week. Ward could play inside or outside. Obviously, he's much better inside. We assume Hightower's going to be available. He's got to be available. He just has an illness. Okay, you get him. Guys with illnesses don't miss games, rarely miss games unless it's obviously something serious. If it's a flu bug, obviously not COVID. If it's just that he needs 48 hours, great. Get him ready for the game, okay? So right now, what I believe they'll do, Fulgham will be added. He'll be a call-up. He's not been called up before. So he was protected this week, which you astutely made the point on our Wednesday show. Why do you think they covered that? Why did they protect him? Because he's probably going to come up. I expect him to come up on Saturday.
Right.
They have the immortal Marcus Green, number 89. They could bring him up. Deontay Burnett, they could call him up or sign him off the practice squad. The problem is if you sign him off the practice squad, you got to clear a space for him. So that's called
the other problem is if you elevate him, then you've exhausted your 2 elevations.
Yep.
I have a feeling they're going to need him for the rest of the year.
I agree. In fact, what they should do is sign him off the practice squad, keep him up until Rigger gets back, keep him on for the next 6 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep him up there, you know? They right now with Djax doubtful, but not rolled him out until he does. You know, if he doesn't practice Friday, I mean, it's so unlikely with his history of hamstring injuries. It's just I don't see it, but never say never. But right now, the only guy you know you're having is Ward, probably Hightower. Looks bad for Jeffrey. Looks bad for Arcega-Whiteside. Looks bad for Djax. You might only dress 4 receivers. Ertz and Richard Rodgers. I don't know about Akeem Butler. I mean, how could he possibly play?
Probably not. No, I don't think he can learn the offense. This is not an easy offense to learn, so I can't imagine he'll be out there. I guess the only saving grace, Adam, is the fact that I think you mentioned in the injuries, there's no Richard Sherman, right?
Yep. He's got one more game. Yep.
Right. Emmanuel Mosley, unlikely to play.
Yep.
And I think Akilo Weatherspoon is also hurt, right?
Yeah, he should play. But see, here's the problem, and we got to bring Wentz into this.
Uh-huh.
And I know it's so crazy. You look at last year, and the only thing he is used to this, unfortunately, of not having help, because we saw what happened when the 4 guys who were not with the team in the first week of the regular season last year. So he's been through this with down and pass targets.
Mm-hmm.
But they are so far down in available pass targets. I just it's hard because the other thing for Wentz is he's not getting practice time. He needs it with Hightower. He needs it with J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Mm-hmm. He needs it with these young players, Travis Fulgham and Marcus Green, who may have to be signed off the practice squad. And then they have Caleb Wilson, by the way, who really did flash in training camp. He's Chris Wilson's son, the former Eagles D-line coach. He's a really athletic guy, but he can't block. He just could run.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. These coaches are going to have their backs against the wall here. They're going to have to come with some kind of game plan.
They are. It's going to be interesting. We did our tape review pod earlier in the week. I gave you some of my thoughts on Carson missing open receivers and some of the innovation in the run that you saw, like in the first 2 series, disappear. And we really didn't get into it much. But I thought, I don't know. I wonder in my mind if Doug, after winning a Super Bowl and because he's gone to the playoffs 3 years in a row, is so confident in his offensive play calling, and you heard him say he loves it, he's not giving it up, that he has a blind spot that doesn't enable him to see that, the best coaches, they change, they keep things fresh. Bill Belichick changes
Andy
what
Reid.
he does every year. Andy
Reid.
Because I'm seeing routes that I've seen for the last 2 or 3 years. And, yeah, when everything's working, when you have all your healthy personnel, they work because you have really good players. But now when you're undermanned a little bit and you need a little bit more, they're the same routes. And I just feel like the offense itself is not spicy like it used to be. It just looks like the same kind of routes.
Yeah, at 17, they did so much deception.
Yeah.
The running joke with the other teams was that they'd run the same plays, but do it in an opposite direction. And the teams just couldn't stop it. Here, 3 years later, they're so not innovative. We've seen no innovation, by the way. We've seen a little pre-snap motion. Big deal. Every team does that. They're not doing any deception or disguise on offense. I know it's only been 3 games, but I've been completely underwhelmed. By the way, we're going to have more on this on our Sunday show. Don't miss it. But I could tell you, so far, so good. I'm not impressed at all by their play calling. I've been so underwhelmed. I know that maybe they're a little bit hamstrung because of the injuries. But come on, guys, get with it, man. They got me all excited this offseason for both sides of the football, and, man, I've not seen very much.
Feels like Doug is sort of doomed to walk down the same path as Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, where you had the early success, you won, and then you kept trying to do the same things over and over and over, thinking it was going to happen, and it just never did. And all of a sudden, you're 6 years removed, and your quarterback can't stand you anymore, and everybody's calling your play calling stale.
I don't know.
I just wonder.
I would love to know, and I don't think Doug's been asked this, but why? I would love for them to ask him, why have we not seen a lot of the things that the concepts that we thought we were going to see with Scangarello, who ironically came from the coach that they're facing on Sunday. Andrew Briner, what's he bringing to the table? Because we said this last year down the stretch. We thought that the coaches had to be careful because they're working with so many guys who shouldn't even be playing, that they just couldn't do a lot of things they probably wanted to do. And maybe there's some truth to that right now. But, man, they weren't doing it in week one when they had mostly everybody, Geoff.
Yeah, it was really interesting when we asked Joe Banner about that and asked him about the idea of too many cooks spoiling the brew, right, or the recipe, and he's not there. So he couldn't say a yes or no, but he did say that can be problematic. Some people think that it's great to have as many ideas guys as possible, but he did acknowledge the fact that if a quarterback is trying to, serve too many masters, it could wind up being a really difficult situation. And maybe we can only speculate. Maybe that is something that's going on with Carson Wentz, who did bring it up this week, that he said he has good communication with all of his coaches. He's the one that said that. He said there's a lot of ideas among all the coaches. So that's what kind of was the internal meter for me to be like, that's interesting that he brought that up. He was only asked about his communication with Doug, and he said, my communication with all of the coaches has been good, and they all have good ideas.
So I was on Ron Jaworski's show on Wednesday on 97.5 The Fanatic, and he thinks, he speculated, because you don't know unless you talk to the player, that he probably is pressing, and he also believes that there might be too many people involved, too many cooks in the kitchen. We don't know what's going with Carson. Jaws made it clear as a former quarterback, it clearly is not getting a clear picture. And we mentioned the Deshaun Jackson where he had him over the middle. He looked at him and didn't throw to him, which is so not like Wentz. When he's on the top of his game, he doesn't miss anything. He's just He's going through such a funk right now. We don't know. We only he knows. I've asked so many players, quarterbacks, and coaches this. You can only know if you're the guy. Only Carson Wentz knows. But the problem is right now they're at a crisis point. Believe it or not, week 4 they are absolutely 100,000% at a crisis point. They got to win this game, and Wentz is. I don't care who's out there. As I said last year, when he was struggling. Put it on them. Put it on the tight ends and receivers. Get it out to them. Throw it to the right shoulder, and it's on them to catch it. If they don't, it's on them, not you. Don't worry about it. You do your job, and that's what you got to do here.
I'm with you, and I think this has to be a big game for Zach Ertz if the Eagles are going to win. And
who else is going to catch it?
Which means it has to be a big game for Carson connecting with Ertz. And there were some opportunities last week. I mean, Ertz had 7 for 70, made a beautiful one-handed catch, and Carson's best 2 throws of the game went to him, but there was an opportunity to get him more. Obviously, the interception was just terribly thrown to the wrong shoulder. So this will have to be a good connection game between Carson and Zach if they have any shot of winning this game. And the offensive line catches a little break because no Nick Bosa and no D Ford.
Yep.
So, and no Solomon Thomas.
No, he's on IR too. Yeah.
Right. So, and I know the rookie has played well for them, Javon Kinlaw.
And, he's a monster. Look, Buckner was this absolute stud. I cannot believe they kept Armstead over him. But, Armstead's a good player, but Buckner's a way better football player. They felt they couldn't sign him long term. They didn't want to go through this every year. They took a risk, and they're banking on Kinlaw. Kinlaw's issue in college was he didn't always bring it. But when he does, and you're seeing it so far, he looks like a stud. That's my understanding. So he's off to a good start. Their depth on the D-line is severely tested, Geoff. They have so many players out. Here's my list that I've compiled. On defense, Julian Taylor, you might remember him from Temple. He's had multiple ACL injuries. He's on reserve PUP. You mentioned Bosa. Ford's not playing. Ronald Blair is one of their key backups. He's on reserve PUP, come back from his ACL injury. Sherman, who we mentioned, K'Wan Williams will play with his hip injury. Jason Verrett, he did a good job last week. He was, he's had such bad problems, the former Chargers first-round pick with injuries, but he started. He had to play. Greenlaw's going to be out. From an injury standpoint, the Eagles offense, they get a break here, but I still struggle with them scoring this game. I don't know how they're going to score.
Well, I guess. I mean, if Carson is not under pressure and if he's kind of righted a little bit, I think that they can capitalize on the fact that the D-line for the Niners is beat up and the secondary for the Niners is beat up. Fred Warner's a good linebacker. He'll be out there.
Love him.
A really good linebacker. But they're just not the same defense without Richard Sherman and Bosa and the guys that they're missing, on the Mosley and the other linemen that we were talking about. There's got to be an opportunity here to score points as long as your quarterback got his head on right. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Here's what they're going to do. This is a Miles Sanders game, okay? If he gets fewer than 10 targets, the coaches did not do their job.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not talking fantasy here. I don't care about that. When I analyze games, it means nothing to me when I look at games. I look at, from a personnel standpoint, how do coaches think? This is such a Miles Sanders game without Greenlaw. Without these, and the Niners are susceptible, their linebackers are against running backs. Someone from another team explained to me. They're so down in pass targets. Miles Sanders is dynamic as a pass catcher. These coaches, they want to earn their money, get Sanders involved. Another thing they need to do, because when he did it last year, he was dynamic. Get him in the slot, because Greg Ward doesn't run very well. Miles Sanders does. Did you see that wheel he ran against the linebacker last week when he should have had a touchdown? Did you see him turn him inside out?
Actually, Adam, I think he was lined up in outside. I have
no, wherever he's lined up, but he turned the guy. Yeah. He turned the guy inside out. But I'm saying last year when he was lined up in the slot, he was very dynamic.
Very much so.
Get this guy out in space. He's a stud out with a football.
I'm totally with you. It's got to be a Miles Sanders type of game. Miles and Zach are your two best playmakers. So if you're not getting them the ball, I don't know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like that's
who are you giving it to? Boston,
exactly.
A little Boston Scott. Okay, you bring that up. Boston Scott, another guy who's dynamic in space. He's not a great inside runner, but when you get him outside formation, the guy makes unblocked defenders miss. The coach has got to dial it up here. Don't make excuses, folks, because they don't have pass targets.
Right.
Dial it up. Do you think Kyle Shanahan's complaining with all the injuries he has? No, they just beat up two bad teams on the road. They got the job done.
There you go. All right, let's go move over to the other side. First, week 3 of football is in the books, thankfully. And now it's time to review the tape and get ready for week 4. There's no better place to get in on all of the action with DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. To add to the excitement of week 4, DraftKings is bringing back their can't-miss offer. If you haven't tried DraftKings Sportsbook yet, what are you waiting for? Head to the App Store now. You don't want to miss this. DraftKings Sportsbook is giving all new users the chance to turn $1 into $100 when they bet on any team. That's right. You can place $1 bet on any team, and if that team wins, you cash a cool Benjamin. So how can you pass that up? And don't worry, if football is not for you, DraftKings is giving you, basketball fans, a 200% profit boost on any basketball market once you sign up. So DraftKings is safe, reliable, and secure, making it easy for you to deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code ITB when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. Pick any team during week 4. Bet $1 on them and win $100 if they win. That's $1 to win $100 when you use promo code ITB during sign-up for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. Pennsylvania only. In partnership with Meadows Racetrack and Casino. Profit boost terms and conditions and eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, now we go on to the 49ers offense versus the Eagles defense. The Eagles defense coming off a pretty good game there against the Bengals. This is a different animal, Adam, but if the Eagles are going to win, they can't get a clunker this time. They can't have what they had 2 weeks ago against the Rams, which is missed assignments, lack of eye discipline, break and contain, all that stuff. Because what they saw 2 weeks ago, for all the misdirection and play action that the Rams did, it's going to be 10 times over with the 49ers.
Yeah, and Brandon Aiyuk, who I absolutely love for the draft, they're using the typical way that the Shanahan tree guys do it these days. You use him to run the football. He scored on a touchdown run last week. Jerick McKinnon looked really good, but he had a rib contusion, so he couldn't finish the game. He's definitely playing this week. Kenneth Bourne's a possession receiver, run after the catch guy, doesn't run very well. Kittle's definitely playing. Ross Dwelly backs him up. Jeff Wilson, yet another guy they have at running back. You're going to see he's a power back. He's bringing their short yardage back occasionally. What's that?
It's like who are these guys?
I
know
right.
I've heard of them, but I mean, really,
right? No, I know their roster really well. Jeff Wilson was a guy that had this incredible catch last year against the Cardinals, I think, to win the game. He didn't play. It was the only snap he had. He's been a great story. That, like you said, where do they get these guys? Great job of scouting by John Lynch and their personnel staff, and they've done really a great job there. And Nick Mullins, look, here's the thing about Nick Mullins. He will not wow you ever with arm strength, but he's so accurate and he executes the offense well.
Yeah.
And now, Jordan Reed, unfortunately, who really did well for them before he got hurt, he's done for months. Mohamed Sanu is there as a backup slot. Yeah. So really what folks you're going to see is Aiyuk. We don't know about Deebo Samuel. I can't imagine he's playing, but they could activate him by Saturday and he plays. But right now it's Aiyuk, Kendrick Bourne. And then they'll use Trent Taylor as their slot receiver. And Mohamed Sanu. There's your 4. Kyle Juszczyk as the fullback. He's a move fullback, very athletic.
Yeah, so let's talk about him because you bring this up a lot, right? You always say, I don't understand why more teams don't really try to go at and attack Eagles linebackers. And sometimes it's not always easy, right? I mean, you have to have the right matchup. And a guy like Kyle Juszczyk, with his versatility and his ability to move, everybody saw in the Super Bowl, he was going to be the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's a guy I feel like under the radar for this game. He's a guy that can probably do some damage.
They don't use him a lot. It's so funny you mentioned it because he was incredible in that game. I don't know why they don't do that. McKinnon, Jerick McKinnon, number 28. He's dynamic in the pass game. He's had some nice plays there. That's where I'm going to get on Nate Gary, who's really struggling. He would be benched, in my opinion, if they had anybody who could come off the bench, but they don't have anyone else, so he's got to play. I think I know Kyle Shanahan pretty well as a play caller. I'd be shocked if he doesn't take advantage of these guys in space and their mental errors. So I would expect that. They should have a lot of success in this game. Now, the Eagles' run defense generally has been good. We know what happened 2 weeks ago against the Rams. They were an abomination against the Rams, but this past game they got it back together. And I'll say this, their D-line, Jeff, it's getting healthier. They dominated. They got 18 hits and 8 sacks, and the only one I'm told that does not look he's back yet is Hargrave. He's not there yet, but even Barnett is getting there. They should. I'll tell you where you beat them. You don't beat him at tackle. Although McGlinchey is not as good as you would think as a former first rounder. Trent Williams, I'm told, looks great. Ben Garland is playing because their starting center is still out.
Right.
Weston Richburg coming back from his knee injury.
God, I remember him from his days with the Giants.
Yep. And Ben Garland is a guy you could win against. Brunskill you could win against.
Ben Garland, yeah.
Yep. And they have an advantage here. These guys got to bring it. They got to feel the urgency to carry this team. That is one matchup. Eagles D-line versus the Niners O-line where they could absolutely get an advantage.
You worried at all about, especially without not that Avonte Maddox is the speediest guy, but now that they're a little banged up at corner, Dante Pettis kind of breaking one?
No, Pettis has been so
can't run anymore.
Jeff. He's benched. I mean, he had to play a little bit last week, but he's a guy that they don't even use. The former second rounder is so gifted. He just fell into the doghouse. Yeah, he's just a guy that the coach is there just on. I mean, he played 8 snaps. It's really, kind of we outlined it. Trent Taylor's a slot receiver. He's a little small guy, but 5'8", but it's gifted.
Right.
Bourne and Aiyuk are going to play the majority of the snaps. That's kind of because of all their injuries. They don't have it. They don't have anywhere else to go here.
And Bourne's not a bad player. He's not bad. I mean, he's come up with some catches. I remember last year in their playoff run, he had a couple of big catches. So
you're going to get schemed to death, Jeff, is what I expect.
They really are.
Schemed to death. They're going to get out of position. You were alluding to it. They're going to get spaced out. I'm telling you, he's going to deception. They're going to have to get the rules straight. They screwed up all the rules that they were given for that game for playing man coverage. I'll be interested because they played a little bit, just a little tiny bit, I'm told, of zone last week. I will be interested to see how Schwartz chooses to play this because Aiyuk's a nice player, but he's a rookie.
Right.
If Debo doesn't play, they should be able to handle these guys. But the problem is because they're so scheme-based, good luck.
I hope that they man up, and I hope that Jim takes one of those linebackers, maybe a safety, and tries to force the issue a little bit earlier. You're going to run that play action to one side. We're going to bring a guy down. Last week, even against Cincinnati, they brought an extra guy down on the line a little bit just because they knew Cincinnati wanted to run a lot. But don't let those when they run play action, right? You got 5 offensive linemen versus 4 defensive linemen. So you allow for that double team in the middle, and then your quarterback rolls in the opposite direction. Well, keep one extra guy down there on the line whose responsibility for reading the rollout and force the issue. I mean, they're going to do it. Put a guy in there, force the issue. Get him off that. I want to say get him off that spot, even though when you're running play out, you're already off your spot. But get him away from the spot he's trying to get to. Get in front of him before the ball gets out. I know it's easier said than done, but there are ways to counteract what they do offensively. You just got to be able to execute it and have a good plan about it.
And plus, remember, Nick Mullins is a guy, and I know he's been a great story for them, development. Again, a great find by the Niners personnel staff, but you gotta make this guy a passer. Mm-hmm. You gotta flush him out, make him get rid of the football before he wants to. This guy's an undrafted free agent. I get it. Now it doesn't matter. He's in the NFL and he's doing a good job, but they should not have a problem against him if they square up formationally. If they're good on their mental game. If the linebackers shock us and actually play competent football, they can hang in this game. But then it becomes, can they score? That's another issue. So there are all sorts of issues here, my friend.
This is going to be it's like a game between. I don't know. It's like a boxing match between 2 over-the-hill fighters who are just giving you all they got left, only because these teams are so depleted that they're going to struggle.
Blood and guts game, man. Blood and guts. I mean, who?
Yeah.
I would say this. Ron Jaworski said something to me that was interesting. I asked him on a show. I said, Jaws, we were going over a lot of information. I said, I got to ask you a question. This team has looked so bad these last 2 weeks. I mean, I know they fought back, and you got to give Wentz credit for closing the game the way he did, but he didn't play all that well. And the defense, secondary-wise, did not play well at all. Their front four was great, but they're not playing. They can't find any consistency. Would it be good if they went on the road here? Is this a good thing for them? He goes, absolutely, because they've been home for 2 weeks where they didn't play well. Mm-hmm. They could rally together. He brought experience. Josh talking about his career, and sometimes you're just glad to get the hell out of Philly. I know there are no fans there on at the games, but get on the road, sort of rally together, come together a little bit. You can't go anywhere because you can't go out. You're not allowed. You really can't go out anywhere. You're in a bubble, really, in the hotel.
Right.
So maybe they come together here. We'll see.
We shall see. All right, listen, we've been telling you guys for a long time about PHLSportsNation.com, enhancing the fan experience, covering all 4 Philly teams like nobody else. For the fan, by the fan, that's their motto. Make sure you check them out. Great content, great podcast. You got to go head over PHLSportsNation.com and check them out on Twitter at PHLSportsNation. Let's also pause 1 sec to hear from another great sponsor. All right. Time to kind of, narrow the scope here and get into what we think is going to happen. Yep. So first, tell me how you think this game is going to be from a complexion standpoint.
All right. The game tempo. I thought last week that would be fairly high scoring. Although, what was it? What was it score? 23-23 was the final last week? Was that the score?
Yeah.
It wasn't actually as high as I thought it might be. And obviously it's because Wentz turned the ball over. Mm-hmm. They had plenty of opportunity. When Carson's not going good, they could be playing a high school team. He's just not going to win. They're going to underachieve. This one's on the road. They're not going to have a good enough pass target group. I don't see it being high scoring. I think the tempo of the game is controlled. They're going to have, as I said earlier, it's got to be a Miles Sanders game. And obviously, as you said, you're absolutely right. How could it not be a Zach Ertz game? The coaches have to move him around, get him freed up. I don't see the Eagles scoring more than 17 in this game. I just don't think it. I'll be interested to see what the trends are in terms of the betting trends. I don't bet, but I find that stuff fascinating because Vegas is incredible.
Don't worry, I'll fill you in. I have all the info.
Good, awesome. Yeah, I love it. The BetQL stuff is awesome.
Yes.
I really believe that in the end, it's a relatively low-scoring game.
Okay. So it sounds like you think though it'll be a close game, but just a low scoring game.
Eagles aren't
Seesaw
going to
or
win.
no? Okay, all right. So
Eagles aren't winning this game. They're just
all right.
I give them an outside chance for an upset just because the Niners are so banged up. And again, this might be the elixir they need getting away from home. And what you and I have talked about, this is our third season doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we count Doug Peterson out, he gets it done. But they are so beat up physically. This is the worst we've seen it, Geoff.
It's pretty bad. I'm generally with you. I do think the Eagles are going to struggle to score points, and I think the Niners are as well. So in a rare admission on my part, Adam, I think it's going to be somewhat of a low scoring game.
Hashtag breaking. Mosher for the 175 shows we've done. Mosher finally picks a game that could go under.
It only took 4 freaking weeks of dormant offensive firepower for me to actually admit.
But hang on. If Wentz turns it over, my friend, Niners could score 30.
I still think even if he turns it over, they're going to struggle a little bit. I just other than Kittle, who do they? They don't have most.
Ayuk could run. He's a rat guy. You run after the catch.
Yeah, they haven't. But look, they faced the Giants last week. The Giants don't have a Darius Slay, right? I'm not. They faced the Jets the week before, so I'm not so gung ho that they're going to go out and score 30 points like that because they beat up on those two bad teams. As bad as the Eagles have been, they have Darius Slay. So to me, that's a big X factor for them in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think the 49ers are going to struggle to score points.
Right.
That's why I think it's going to be a low scoring game.
Gotcha.
So let's check it out. Like DraftKings, who sponsors the podcast, has right now. I'm checking the line because the lines for Eagles games move ridiculously. Like last week, it was I believe like it started off as 6 and then it was down to 4 or 4.5, and then it was 4 by the time everything was all said and done. So I saw that the Niners were favored by 6 last I checked. So I believe that's still the case.
I mean, look, I got the game wrong last week. In fact, I've got them all 3 wrong. I really thought because the matchup was so good for the Eagles offense versus the Bengals defense. But again, you can't count on – it's impossible to project the quarterback playing poorly. You just can't.
Right.
You assume if he's protected – he was protected fairly well last week that he would have a chance to be successful. And, yeah, Deshaun Jackson gets hurt, doesn't return. Okay. That crushed them, their ability to throw the ball downfield. Right. The coaches, I think, are struggling structure-wise to get guys open. To me, that's the biggest issue between the two teams that you're facing, the two teams here. Shanahan's all about space creation and getting guys open. The Eagles coaches are struggling to do it. I can't tell you why. I don't know why.
All right, well, as I mentioned, and maybe the line moved a little bit, but as we look at it here, it is the Eagles the Niners are favored by 7, and the total on the game is 46, which strikes me for an Eagles game is fairly low. As I look here, only 3 other games are lower. There's a 45.5, a 46.5, and a 45.5. So I think that we're on track here. I mean, it's not going to be an overly high scoring game. I think both offenses ideally are not going to just have their way with these opposing defenses.
Okay.
Obviously, if you want to put your wager on DraftKings Sportsbook, as we recommend you do, you should go to our friends at BetQL. They have an app, the BetQL app, or BetQL.com, because what they specialize in is giving you all the historical trends between the matchup, where the money's going, the sharp money, how the trends are in that regard, and of course all the like the game within the game type analysis and data. You know, how the Niners perform at home on Sunday nights, how the Eagles perform on the road in Sunday nights, especially with the cross-country travel. They have all of that. So you can get inundated with all of the type of data and cutting-edge analytics that you would need or that you would want, I should say, to make a really good educated wager. So head on over to BetQL and use the promo code BIRDS20 to sign up, because you'll get 20% off your subscription. And I think that's a huge break. So, I mean, I always like to be informed. I always like as much information as possible. There are a lot of sites that give you like that peripheral information that doesn't really help. Well, this really goes inside the data and gives you everything you need to know, and you can get 20% off. So
nice.
I'm a big fan of that. So go to BetQL again, use the promo code BIRDS20 to get 20% off on your subscription. All right, it's prediction time. You told me how you think the game's going to go. I feel like you're leaning toward a 49ers win, Adam. What do you got? What kind of score do you have?
Oh, yeah. I've got it because I think the Eagles have trouble scoring. I've got it Niners 23, Eagles 13. I give Eagles a puncher's chance if the coaches really do a great job here. I know they're handcuffed. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said earlier, it hasn't hurt Kyle Shanahan. You can't worry about things that you don't have. You coach the guys you have and use their talent. Miles Sanders is gifted like very few running backs. He's actually more talented than Shady. I know people probably find that hard to believe, but I think he's better than Shady. I think he's better than Shady when Shady was
That's
great.
Interesting. In what way?
More explosive.
Wow.
More explosive. I know, but Shady was more shake and bake, okay? There's no question. Shady was special when Shady was Shady, and obviously he's well past his prime. Miles Sanders is more explosive.
Yeah, his straight line speed, I would agree with you, is probably more dynamic than Shady's.
And Shady could – you got it right, exactly. Shady could not do what this guy could do, okay? What this guy could do. He can't run a 9 route downfield like Miles. And by the way, that route that he ran, that wheel, Shady's not doing that. That he should have had a touchdown for because Wentz missed him.
Right. Shady could catch a screen. He could go across the middle on a shallow and catch something like that. But you're right, he wasn't lining up in the slot a whole lot. He wasn't putting double moves on guys on the outside like Miles Sanders did. That was really sweet double move he pulled.
Incredible.
I was very impressed.
I think his ankles are still broken, that guy.
That was Akeem Davis-Gaither, who actually, if you remember, in overtime, Miles tried to do they tried to run that same exact play, and Davis-Gaither did a way better job defending it the second time around. But nonetheless, if you can, it just makes you kind of like tantalize, like, man, if Carson was really on, there's some special things that these two guys can do together. And then you add Ertz into the equation and they can do something. But it all, as you said, it matters if he's on or not. My score prediction is a little bit closer. You said Niners 33, Eagles 20?
No, 20.
Right?
No, hell no. 23-13.
What did you say? 23-13. Okay.
Correct. Yep.
I'm picking the Niners to win, and I reserve the right to change this before the pregame show on Sunday. But I'm picking the Niners to win 26-21. So
scoring, that's not low scoring.
47 points.
What is the over/under of this game?
46. I'm right at basically at the over/under.
That's still pretty high for the way you outlined this. That I didn't think you would come anywhere close to that number. Wow. All right, we'll see. Maybe.
Well, hey, nobody said I was going to be right.
Yeah, that's right. This is I love picking these games.
There were 46 points scored in the Bengals-Eagles game. That
I
wasn't
hear you.
an
I
offensive
know. It should have been more than that, by the way. Should have been more than that.
But look at some of the scores last week. Like Miami beats Jacksonville 31-13. The Rams lose 32-35 to Buffalo. New England scores 36 and beats the Vegas 36-20. Cleveland 34-20. Pittsburgh 28-21. There are no games under 45 or 50 anymore. Even when they're having trouble scoring.
Yeah, but there wouldn't be. This game would go over 50 if both teams had particularly the Eagles, if they would have had if they have Jackson and all these injured guys. Goddard, oh my God, Goddard. That's another one. We don't talk about him enough.
Yeah.
He's so gifted. It's too bad. It's too bad.
Yeah, it is. But it also, as I said, I think in the podcast earlier in the week, everybody wants to just ship off Zach Ertz and get him out of town and go ahead with Dallas Goedert.
Dependable.
I mean, he's been out there for years and years now making catches, and Dallas has struggled with injuries. So
thank God the Eagles have him. I don't know where they'd be without. I mean, they might have scored 3 points this game without him. So we'll see what happens. I hope I don't root for teams, as you know. It's not our job. We're not fans, but I feel bad for all my friends who are Eagle fans. I just feel bad. They're and in our message board, they're going out of their minds on Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's actually funny because they're actually laughing because they know they've looked so bad. No one expected this.
Mm-hmm.
But the history of the head coach and being resilient. We'll see what happens here. I'm not real optimistic, but sometimes you get away and things change.
All right, real quick before we get out of here, I got to get your Adam Caplan stamp of approval or disapproval on two things. One, Doc Rivers, new head coach of the Sixers.
Love it. Love it. I know they've choked in the playoffs. I love his energy and passion. Smart guy. I love it. I did not want Ty Lue at all, thank God. I would have ranked him because Rivers came in late. Rivers won and D'Antoni too. I'm excited. Look, people call him a retread, but you know what? He's a winning retread of a coach. Let's get Let's get that correct.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Everybody who's worried about the playoff collapses, I would say don't worry about that because the Sixers have been regressing in the playoffs already. What they need to worry about is finding someone who can get Simmons and Embiid to play together, or if they're going to ship one out, bring in the right type and coach the right type of environment that can suit one or the other. I think Doc
Correct.
Rivers probably gives you the best shot. And real quick, yay or nay, reports on Matt Klentak keeping his job.
I'm disgusted.
I had a feeling you would be. How can you not?
I know there's been speculation by some of the reporters that he was going to get canned. I mean, it's really embarrassing. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. The guy is so over in his head. All you have to do is look at their minor league system. It's an embarrassment. I'm not a expert, but I follow Phillies closely.
Mm-hmm.
And you're Mr. Philly, so you tell me what does their minor leagues look like right now?
It doesn't. That's what it looks like. It does not look like anything. If Adonis Medina is your kind of guy, then you love the farm system. But all you need to know, and listen, I encourage everybody to check out our Powder Blue podcast that I do with Frank Close and Hunter Brody. All you need to know is Enyel De Los Santos last year was ninth on their list of prospects, and he was released already, like in the middle of this year.
He's terrible.
Yeah, they got to bring in somebody who knows how to A, keep the team competitive, and B, replenish the farm system at the same time.
And Jeff, who the hell puts a bullpen out like that?
I can't tell you. I haven't seen a team with a bullpen that bad in my lifetime.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Embarrassing.
Yeah.
As a Philadelphian, I was born and raised here. Other than going away for school, I've been here. I've never been. If we ranked the worst general managers in Philadelphia sports history, he's in my top 5 of worst.
Wow.
I think he's awful. I think
you're probably right, but it's we've had some ignominious general managers in this city, so that's pretty.
It's just so bad. I'm so disgusted. If that's what's happening, if Klentak's coming back, it's all about the minor league system in baseball. I know that. We all know that. Yeah. So this is the Eagles podcast. But
all right, that'll do it for this edition of Inside the Birds with a little bit of Sixers and Philly sprinkled in at the end. We're still the leading podcast in Eagles intel. Big thanks to our producer Hunter Brody. Check out his work on YouTube, Sports Talk with Broads. Look for his work on Twitter at Broads81. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the bird.